Let's get to the reason why we're here tonight. April Dunford. She is the founder and consultant of Ambient Strategy. She's the author of this great book, obviously awesome. She's a positioning expert, and she's a board member, advisor, investor. She's a great speaker. She's spoken here before. I'm really excited to have her back, and it's been awesome to get to know her. Twitter handle again is April Dunford. You can go to her website, aprildunford.com, and she's going to be sharing with us a new talk, part of what she's thinking about for a new book, about how to use positioning to create a compelling product story. So with that, April, welcome, and let me turn it over to you.
Great. So I'm April. Thanks so much for coming tonight. Yeah, this is kind of a new talk and a thing I've been thinking about for a long time. My background is I was a repeat head of marketing at a series of startups. I think I did 7. 6 of those were acquired. My background is I come from the product marketing side of the house. So generally I ran marketing teams, but sometimes I ran marketing and product. The work I do now is very focused on positioning. And this is a talk I've been kind of dying to do for a while. So, we'll see how it goes because it's kind of new. But here's my thinking on this. I work mainly with founders and sometimes the head of product, sometimes the head of marketing. And everybody kind of agrees, like, selling is hard. Like most of us in startup land come from the product side of the house and we're comfortable with product stuff, and the sales and marketing side of the house, less comfortable. That stuff is hard. And unfortunately it's necessary. Like we need to be able to figure out how to get people to buy our stuff. Otherwise we don't stay in business. Otherwise we don't make any money and we don't have jobs. But what I want to talk about in this talk is a little bit of the reverse of that. I want us to kind of step out of our vendor point of view and think a little bit about customers. And I have this kind of controversial statement, which is I think buying is hard. Arguably, I think buying is harder. Now, most of the time when I say this, people are like, what are you talking about, April? Like buying is easy. Like I wish that was my job and all I had to do all day was like go shopping. Like buying's amazing. What are you talking about? And that's because when I say that, like, buying, like we tend to think about consumer things that we buy. And almost universally, when people think about shopping, they're thinking about things that we would call an unconsidered purchase. Like I'm going to buy a t-shirt, or I'm going to buy shoes, or I'm going to buy a pack of gum. I'm going to buy a drink at the bar. These things are unconsidered. I don't make a short list. I don't do research. I walk into the store and I say, I like this one. I like the blue one. I'm going to have the blue one. A considered purchase is different. And it's considerably less fun. Considered purchase is different in that there are stakes. So think about I'm going to buy, I don't know, insurance. Is that fun? No, it's not fun. It's totally complicated. I'm going to do my research. If I get it wrong, bad things happen. And often it doesn't just impact me, it impacts other people too. And these kind of purchases are actually kind of awful. Most of what we sell, if we're selling B2B, the buyer is in the middle of a very considered purchase. Often if it's consumer as well, it's a considered purchase. I'm going to give you 2 examples. I'm going to give you a dumb example that has nothing to do with tech, and then I'm going to give you an example that has something to do with tech. So here's my dumb example. It's the story called April Buys a Toilet. So I bought a house. I live in Toronto. I bought a house. It's not a very nice house. It comes with a very not nice bathroom. I hire a guy and he's going to fix my bathroom. So he comes in, he looks at the stuff, he's going to fix it. And he says, okay, you need to go to the store and buy a toilet. And I'm like, okay, how hard can that be? So I go to the store and I walk into the toilet store, and I walk into the store and I say, hey, the sales rep comes up to me and says, hey, can I help you? And I said, yeah, you can. I'm here to buy a toilet. And the guy says, what kind of toilet do you want? And I said, I have no idea. I've never bought a toilet before. And the guy says, oh, well, okay, toilets are over there back on the left, and everything's marked, and they've got prices and spec sheets and stuff are on the toilets. So you go there, have a look. And when you figure out what it is you want to buy, you come back and you talk to me and I'll sell it to you. I'm like, okay, sounds good. So I go back to the back corner and here's what I see. 100,000 million toilets. And they all look exactly the same. I can't tell the difference between any of them. And they're incredibly different in terms of pricing and features. Like some of them are really cheap, like a couple $100, and some of them are really expensive, like thousands of dollars. And they have all these features that I have no idea what they are, like flappers or no flappers, and low flush and high flush and all this other kind of stuff. And I don't know what any of these things are. And the sales rep has put it all on me to go figure out what I want. I have no idea. I get terrified. I leave the store and I go back home and I'm like, I got to research toilets. It turns out I don't know anything about toilets. So I get on the internet and I Google up toilets, and it turns out toilet technology is extraordinarily complex. And if you're going to go buy a toilet, there's all kinds of things you got to figure out. So you got to think about water efficiency and seat height and single flush or dual flush technology and flapper or flapperless models, visible, concealed, skirted, trapways. There's all this stuff. And I'm like, I don't even know what it is. I don't know what my requirements are. I can't even buy a toilet. This is so hard. Here's the most disgusting thing I learned about toilets. And now I'm going to teach you. There's a thing called the MAP test score. And that is testing conducted by an agency that determines how much solid waste a toilet can handle. A rating of 350 to 600 grams is good, although some toilets can handle up to 2.2 pounds. It's a bag of carrots. It's disgusting. I'm like, I get to this and I'm like, this is disgusting. I now know things about toilets that I don't want to know anything about toilets. And I get this bright idea. Maybe I can get out of buying this toilet altogether and just keep the toilet I got. There was nothing wrong with that toilet. So I go back and I talk to my guy who's fixing the bathroom and I'm like, dude, let's not buy a toilet at all. We just use the old one. It's too hard. I'm a busy person. I don't have time to learn all this toilet knowledge. And he's like, no, lady, you don't understand. We already recycled it. It's gone. It's gone. We can't get it back. It's gone. You got to buy a toilet. And I'm like, oh, this is so bad. So I go to a different toilet store. And I go to a different toilet store and I meet this guy. His name is John. Anyway, so the toilet guy, and he comes out and I'm like, and he says, can I help you? And I said, yes, I cannot leave this place without a toilet. And I don't know anything about toilets. And you just have to sell me a toilet. And I pretty much don't care what toilet you sell me. Like, I just want a toilet that works. And the guy says, yeah, toilets are terrible. Buying a toilet, I get it. It's terrible. He says, look at all the choices, too many choices. I'm like, right, there's too many choices. He says, look, I can make this really simple for you. See all the toilets over there? Notice how they're cheaper? See all the ones over here? They're more expensive. Well, these cheaper ones and the expensive ones, all these features like flappers and all this kind of stuff, that's really just low quality, high quality. High quality means way more flushes before it breaks. Low quality, few flushes before it breaks. I'm like, well, who wants a low quality toilet? He says, well, actually, lots of people. Like if you have a spare bedroom, toilet doesn't get used very much. You only need a few flushes. That toilet barely gets used. You could buy a cheaper one and it'd be fine. Is this a primary toilet or a secondary toilet? I'm like, this is a primary toilet, unfortunately, dude. Like, I want the high quality one. Okay, fine. High quality toilet. No, it's just, okay. So forget about those. Don't look at those. You don't want those. That's bad. Then everything else here, we can split it into 3 categories. These ones are fashion toilets. Like, you want a toilet that's got a special color or a special thing or whatever? Like, do you have any fashion requirements? I'm like, no fashion requirements. Okay, forget about those. Don't look at them. You pay more for that fashion stuff. Okay. So now we're getting somewhere. Like, I've only got like 10 toilets left or something. And he says, look, these ones over here, notice how they don't have the tank thing on the outside? They just hang off the wall. The tank thing goes in the wall. And I'm like, okay, why do I want that? He says, because your bathroom's really, really small. So it's smaller, it'll fit in there and you put the tank in the wall. The problem is that if it breaks, we got to bust out the drywall to get in there and fix it. So how much room you got in your bathroom? I'm like, lots of room, actually. And he says, oh, well, you probably want the tank outside the wall. Then if it breaks, you don't have to fix it. I'm like, that's amazing. Okay, so now I got it. And he's like, yeah, there's like 3 toilets left and they're all different brands. And I'm like, well, which one should I pick of these 3 ones left? And he says, look, I'm biased. I actually work for Toto Toilet. He says, they pay me a spiff if I sell the Toto Toilet. But I'll be honest with you, you pick any one, you're going to be happy. And I'm like, well, which one did you pick? And he says, look, I work for the company Toilet because I believe in their product. Nobody takes a Toto Toilet back. If it was me, I would just buy the Toto one for peace of mind. Look it up online. Everybody loves them. They're really good quality toilets, whatever. Sold. Buy the Toto Toilet, go home, super happy. It's a toilet. How hard is it to buy your stuff? Like, if it's that hard to buy a toilet, like, we're all toilet users. We know what a toilet is, but I can't even figure out features for a toilet. Now imagine, instead of a toilet, I'm trying to buy accounting software. I'm trying to buy a database. I'm trying to buy a business intelligence tool. I'm trying to buy something with AI, advanced analytics, doodad, magic, patented, blah, blah, blah. Something I've never encountered before. Some things I've never even used before. Imagine how hard it is to buy that. Let's do an example. How does software get bought in B2B? Here's how it gets bought. CFO wakes up in the morning and says, God, we're in the middle of this audit. And you know what I hate? I hate my accounting software. I hate it. It doesn't do the stuff we need. We've outgrown it. We need to get new accounting software. Let's get some. And does the CFO buy it? No. The CFO goes into the office, looks around and says, you, Janet, figure this out. Find what accounting software we should buy. Come back, make a recommendation. I'm going to write you the check for it. And Janet's like, oh, God, no, I don't want to do this. I don't actually know anything about accounting software. I've used some accounting software, but I don't know what the state of the art of accounting software is. I don't even know who the vendors are. I don't know anything. And the stakes are high. If I make a mistake, what happens? Oh, my boss is pissed at me. All the other people in the accounting department are mad at me because I picked some stupid thing that now they have to use. Maybe I look stupid. Maybe I don't get the promotion I'm up for. Maybe I get fired. So I'm stressed about this. And I'm like, darn it, I got to go figure out something about accounting software. So I Google that up and what do I get? It's a disaster. I get thousands and thousands and thousands of products that look exactly the same. I go on the review site, a G2 Crowd or whatever. I pull up Gartner's Quadrant, all this stuff, and there's 1,000 options. And they all kind of look the same. I go on their website. Everyone says we're the leader in blah, blah accounting. How do I know how to make a short list? And so I look at all this, and then I get, even if I manage to get a short list and I click down a level, what do I get? Features, all kinds of features. And I don't know anything about them. And I don't know if they're important or not important. I probably got some requirements, but there's all this new stuff I never heard about. And I don't know if that's important or not important. And so what's very likely to happen here? Well, first thing will happen is maybe I call some companies up and I'm going to actually get in a sales process. So we look at their website. There's all these features. I can't figure out what's important and what isn't important. I click on the button that says, give me a demo. And then what happens? I go in and the guy gives me a demo. And the demo is a wind tunnel of features. Here's how we log in. Here's the thing. Here's another feature. Here's another feature. Here's a feature. Here's a feature. Here's a feature. And all that demo does, generally, typical product software demo makes the issue worse. It just makes it worse. I'm not telling you about what makes my stuff really different. I'm not talking about my competitors at all. I'm not talking about the market. I'm just talking about my stuff and all my amazing features. Does that help me make a choice? Not necessarily. And in fact, this is so bad that 40 to 60% of B2B purchase processes end in no decision. And when you look at the data for this, that no decision is not that they thought the status quo thing they were using was so much better. It ends in no decision because I can't figure out how to make a choice. And the safest thing to do if I can't feel good about a choice is to make no choice at all. So Janet goes back to her boss and says, you know what? We're in the middle of an audit right now. Let's kick this can down the road. Let's decide next year. And by then, maybe I'm in a different job and I don't have to make this decision. So they can't figure out what to do, so they don't do anything. So what do customers actually want? They actually don't want a product sales pitch. What they want is market insight. They want a way to figure out how to make choices. What they actually want is like what my toilet guy gave me, which is, look, here's all the things, and here's how I put them into categories, and here's the pluses and minuses of choosing any one of those. So what they want is not really a salesperson. What they want is a guide to the whole market, not just your stuff, the whole market. And then how does your stuff fit in with the whole market? Now, if you look at the data on this, it's really interesting. If we go and ask B2B software buyers what they want, that's exactly what they want. They come back and they say, you know what I really wish I got in a sales meeting? I wish I got perspectives on the market. I wish I had help navigating alternatives. I wish I had help avoiding landmines. Educate me on issues and outcomes, man, because I can't figure out how to make a decision. If I can't confidently do it, I'm not going to make any decision at all. So now, we don't do this for a lot of reasons, right? Like we don't like talking about competitors and other things in our market because we're like, well, that's just trashing the competition. But that's not what this is about. This is about giving customers a rubric for making choices. How do I make choices? Let me give you an example of a before and after on this so you can see what I'm talking about. So here's a company, Help Scout. If they were doing the typical features narrative, well, I'm going to get on the demo and show you the demo, and I'm just going to show you all the features. Like the start of the demo might be, hey, like what these folks do is their customer service solution, right? It's like, hey, we're a customer service solution. Let me show you how it works. Yeah, here's all my features. I got a shared inbox. I got nice integrated channels across all the service channels. Customers get to choose what channel they want. That's pretty neat, right? Customers aren't assigned tickets because we like to treat you like a person. It's really easy to get started. It's really easy to use, blah, 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 blah. I give you a whole bunch of features. That's what the features pitch would look like on this. Now, if I was trying to do a narrative that was helping a customer make decisions, I would do this in a very different way. And so this is how Help Scout actually does this right now. So they come in and they say, look, you know what? There's some things you got to know about customer service. Like some companies see customer service as a cost center, and all they're trying to do is get the cost down. Other companies see customer service as a growth driver. So a way to improve customer loyalty, a way to make sure that customers have a great experience. What we've seen is modern online businesses are really trying to increase customer happiness and give customers an amazing experience. Now look at what your choices are. Well, basically the companies we work with, they do one of two things. Either they use a shared inbox. It's great. It's easy. The service reps love it. The problem is it doesn't have any advanced service features. So you grow out of this thing. That's a pain. Your only other option is to go to traditional help desk software like Zendesk, right? And that's great. That has all the features. But the problem is it's enterprise software. It's super complex to get using and up and started. So your reps hate it. But the second thing is that your customers hate it, because it treats customer success as a cost center. So what they're trying to do is push you to the lowest cost channel, push you to chat because that costs less, push you to the FAQ. They don't care what you want to do. They're actually just trying to get you to lower the cost at the expense of the customer experience. So that's my picture of the market. Then I put myself in there. What's Help Desk? Well, Help Scout is the only support solution that, first of all, it's nice and easy to use. Your team's going to love it. It's got all the advanced features, so you're not going to outgrow it. And we support an excellent customer experience because we believe, like our customers believe, that this thing is a growth driver. Now, let me show you how we do that, and then we can get into the features that map to each of those value points. That's different. What do you think sells better? Here's what we do, feature thing, or a pitch that says, why should buyers like you pick our product over all the alternatives? So how do we actually build a narrative like that? Can we do that in a structured way? The components are actually pretty easy. They map directly to our positioning. So the first thing we need to understand is, what are the alternatives? Like, if customer didn't buy us, what would they do? And so I need to understand from a customer's perspective, what are the alternative approaches to solving the problem? Secondly, I need to understand what my differentiated value is. So not just features, but what's the so what of those features? What value does the feature enable for customers? And then who are these customers and how do they think? What do they actually value and what they not value? And then I can build a story around that. Positioning is kind of my jam. I'm the positioning lady. And so, if you won the book tonight, the book describes this process for figuring out your positioning. But if we look at the component pieces of positioning, it maps really nicely into what we're looking for here. Like, first we have to just figure out what are the alternatives. So what are we positioning against? Then we can figure out, well, what are our differentiated capabilities? And we can map those capabilities to value. That gets me differentiated value. And then I can say, well, not everybody cares about that value the same. So what kind of customers really appreciate our value? Once I have that, then I can actually figure out this narrative thing. So here's how I build a positioning narrative. I take the alternatives and I sort them into groups, depending on my particular point of view of the market. And I can discuss with the customer the pros and cons for each, particularly if I'm talking about buyers like mine. How does a buyer make choices between the two? What are the trade-offs for each of these alternatives? And then I can finish that off with, well, look, here's the value that only we can deliver. And then let's get to the demo and I'll show you the features that enable that value. What I'm doing is I'm painting a picture of the whole market, then I'm positioning my stuff in there. Let me give you another example. So these guys, LevelJump, I work with them. They're sales onboarding, sales enablement software. And before I worked with them, they had this demo. And if you look, the demo was typical features demo. Like, here's how we log in. Here's how you set up the training. Here's how you distribute the training to sales teams. It's all nice. It's built on Salesforce. And at the very end of the demo, they would talk about, this thing, one of the things we can do is we can combine onboarding metrics with sales metrics to help you measure whether or not the onboarding is working. So is it improving time to first deal or time for a sales rep to make quota? So this is the way they were doing it. And most people came in and they're looking at alternatives like other LMS platforms, like regular learning management systems or content management systems. And they could not figure out the difference between this thing and everything else because it sounds kind of the same. They switched to doing this positioning narrative, which is completely different. So now they come in and they have a conversation with the customer and they're like, okay, we're going to show you the demo. But first of all, like, why do we care about sales enablement? Like, why do we care? Why bother even doing it? Like, we care about sales enablement because every day your rep doesn't make quota costs you money. And they have a bunch of great stats on how much money it costs, right? It costs you a lot of money. So we're doing sales enablement so that we can get the reps up to speed really fast, right? And how do we measure that? Well, let's look at how we do it now. Oh, well, we could put everything on a shared drive. That's nice and easy, but I don't know who's using what. So, you're going to outgrow that pretty fast. And then maybe you get a content management system. Now you know who's accessing what, but I can't design courses and I can't measure, like, did that improve time to first deal? I have no idea. Same thing with a learning management system. I could set up courses in that one better than a CMS, but I still can't measure whether or not the onboarding actually impacted sales. So what I really want is a sales enablement solution where I can measure the impact of onboarding with sales metrics. We're the only one that lets you do that. You can use that in those metrics to improve onboarding and sell more faster. This is a very, very different narrative than just going in and talking about the features. Interestingly, in this narrative, like mainly when I talk about this, the way I talk about it's a little bit like we're talking about a sales pitch, but this narrative actually gets used all across the company. So the narrative works very well for communicating internally, like, what the heck are we doing? Like, why does a customer want to buy our stuff? Where do we win in the market and how? It's also super important on the marketing side of things. And there's lots of different ways we can represent the narrative in the marketing stuff that we do. So here's an example. Maybe these guys are called Postman. They're like an API development platform. I love these guys. And so I did some work with them a few years back, but they have this narrative that sort of starts out with like, look, not everybody really cares about APIs, but if APIs are business critical, quality and reliability of those APIs are really essential. So, if you look at the alternatives, like, what are people doing with APIs right now? They're stitching together a bunch of discrete piece part solutions, like one thing for testing, one for API documentation, one thing for distributing APIs, one for maintaining APIs. The result of that is, like, the good news is everybody's got the tool they need, and I guess that's all right. But the bad news is, because people aren't collaborating on these things, the APIs tend to be really low quality. Because there's really poor coordination across the teams. It also makes it really slow to deliver the API because at every step of that, you have to switch tools. So what we really want is a tool that allows us to better manage the entire API lifecycle if you really care about APIs. So Postman's the world-only platform for building and using APIs. It streamlines the whole lifecycle so you can deliver really high-quality APIs faster. So that's the narrative. If you sit on a sales call with them, that's exactly the story you're going to get. If you look at how this is represented in their marketing materials, it's really interesting. They do a lot of things to help people figure out, where does this tool fit in amongst all the other tools that I've got? And how do I differentiate between what Postman does and like all these other things? And so they've got lots of diagrams that look like this. Like, here's the API platform landscape, and they've mapped in, like, look, There's things for API client, things for API design and mocking, things for testing and automation, things for API documentation. And you can see like everything in that big square box is Postman. Everything all around that is not. So you can basically get rid of all that stuff in the middle and have one tool. And oh, by the way, it's going to work nice with your source code. It works nice with CI/CD. It works nice with gateways. They also have this nice diagram that they use that describes, well, here's just our stuff. So here's, we have the repository, and we have tools, we have intelligence, we have workspaces, and that all works nicely with the things we need to work nicely with on the outside. One of the things I really love about Postman is like they've got so much material around this, because it's the hardest thing they have to do in their sales cycle is kind of explain what the thing is, because it's really sort of a new idea. One of the really creative things these guys did was they built a graphic novel. So they built a comic book called An API First World. So if you look up Postman graphic novel, you'll get this thing. And like in the graphic novel, like see this guy with the hoodie, that's the CEO. And he's taking you through like, what is this all about? And this basically this comic book is their narrative. It's like, APIs are still an afterthought rather than the primary building block. Tools for building APIs are really behind the times. APIs aren't discoverable for customers. And it kind of walks through, here's where we're at now. Here's what the world could be like if we did this properly. Anyways, that's it. That's all I got. So, in summary on this, one, buying is hard. Two, I think our job in marketing and sales is to really be a guide. I think we as product people are well positioned to be the people that actually help build this narrative, because we're the people that understand what the other alternatives are and what our differentiated value is. Positioning narrative is essentially designed to help buyers make better choices. Your positioning is the fundamental input in that. And yeah, if you're shopping for toilets, just buy a Toto toilet. It's a really good toilet. This is my email and stuff.
All right. Well, thanks, April, for sharing that.